Hello. In this example, we have to divide two fractions. First one is x squared minus x minus 12 out of 5x divided by the second fraction is x squared minus 10x plus 24 out of x squared minus 6x. So the very first thing you need to do is change this division into multiplication. In order to convert division into multiplication, we keep the first fraction as is, which is x squared minus x minus 12 out of 5x. Then we change division into multiplication and flip the second fraction, so we get x squared minus 6x out of x squared minus 10x plus 24. Now we factor each numerator and denominator. Let's begin by factoring x squared minus x minus 12. We begin by multiplying leading coefficient, which is 1, times the last number, which is negative 12. And we get 1 times negative 12. The product is negative 12. Now we list all of the factor pairs of 12. We have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And that's it. Since the product is negative, we are looking for difference. And we need the difference to be negative 1. 3 and 4 gives us a difference of 1. We need it to be a negative 1, so we need more negatives. So let's make 4 negative and 3 positive. Positive 3 times negative 4, we get negative 12. Positive 3 minus 4, we get a difference of negative 1. Now we can rewrite negative 1x as positive 3x minus 4x. And we keep everything else as is. So we have x to the second plus 3x minus 4x minus 12. Let's factor by grouping. So first pair of terms is x squared plus 3x. We can divide each of them by x. Whatever goes into denominator goes on the outside. The second pair of terms is negative 4x minus 12. Each of them can be divided by 4. We also need to change the sign to match the parentheses. So let's divide both of them by negative 4. Whatever goes into denominator goes on the outside. And we get x times x squared divided by x gives us x, plus 3x divided by x gives us 3. So x times x plus 3 minus 4 times negative 4x divided by negative 4. Negative divided by negative cancels into positive. 4 divided by 4 gives us 1. So we just have 1x. Negative 12 divided by negative 4 gives us positive 3. So now we have x times x plus 3 minus 4 times x plus 3. We have a common factor of x plus 3. So let's factor it out by dividing both terms by x plus 3. And whatever goes into denominator goes on the outside. This gives us x times x plus 3 out of x plus 3. X plus 3 and x plus 3 will cancel. So we have x. Negative 4 times x plus 3 out of x plus 3. X plus 3 and x plus 3 will cancel. So we get x minus 4 times x plus 3 that we have just factored out. So first numerator factors into x minus 4 times x plus 3. It is out of 5x, which does not need to be factored because there is no plus or minus in there. This is already in terms of factors. Times, in the second numerator we have x squared minus 6x. So we need to factor x squared minus 6x. Both of these can be divided by x. X goes into denominator and x goes on the outside. So we get x times x squared divided by x. This cancels into one factor of x minus 6x divided by x, which gives us just negative 6. So the second numerator factors into x times x minus 6. Let's factor a second denominator of x squared minus 10x plus 24. Let's begin by multiplying leading coefficient by the last number, which is 1 times 24, and we get a product of 24. We need to list all of the factor pairs. We have 1, 24, 2, 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Since the product is positive, we look for sum, and we need the sum of negative 10. The factor pair of 4 and 6 has a sum of 10, and we need the sum to be negative, so negative 4 times negative 6 will give us a positive 24 as a product. Negative 4 minus 6 will give us a sum of negative 10. So let's rewrite negative 10x as negative 4x minus 6x, and let's keep everything else as is. We have x squared minus 4x minus 6x plus 24. Now we can factor by grouping. From the first pair of terms we can take out x. X goes in the denominators and on the outside, so we get x times x squared divided by x. We have one factor of x left over, minus 4x divided by x, so x's will cancel and we have just x minus 4. In the second pair of terms we have negative 6x plus 24. Both of these can be divided by 6. Since we want to match the sign pattern of the first parentheses, we want to change the signs in the second parentheses. So let's factor out negative 6. Negative 6 goes into denominators and negative 6 goes on the outside. So we get negative 6 times negative 6x divided by negative 6. Negative and negative will cancel into positive. 6 and 6 cancels into 1, so we have x. 24 divided by negative 6, we get negative 4. Close the parenthesis. So now we have x times x minus 4 minus 6 times x minus 4. We have a common factor of x minus 4. So let's factor x minus 4 out of this expression. X minus 4 goes into denominators, and x minus 4 goes on the outside. We get x times x minus 4 out of x minus 4. This cancels into 1. Minus 6 times x minus 4 out of x minus 4. This also cancels into 1. So we are left with x minus 6 times x minus 4. So we get second denominator factors into x minus 6 times x minus 4. So on this step we are done with factoring. We have x minus 4 times x plus 3 out of 5x times x minus 6 out of x minus 6 times x minus 4. Now we can reduce common factors from numerator and denominator. We have x minus 4 in the first numerator and x minus 4 in the second denominator. So we can cancel x minus 4 and x minus 4. We also have x minus 6 in the second numerator, which can be evenly divided by x minus 6 from the second denominator. So they cancel into 1. X minus 6 out of x minus 6 is equal to 1 out of 1. And we have an x in the second numerator and x in the first denominator. So this x can be evenly divided by this x. They also cancel into 1. In numerator we are left with 1 times x plus 3 times 1 times 1, which is just x plus 3. Out of in denominator we have 5 times 1 times 1, so we have just 5. There are no more common factors and there is nothing else we can factor out. So x plus 3 out of 5 is our solution. That's all.